The moment you realize nothing isn't empty at all. Most words describe something, but nothing describes the terror of absence. Not silence, not emptiness, not calm, but the moment your mind tries to grasp what isn't there and fails. He remembered staring into a dark room and feeling a pressure, not from a presence, but from an absence that felt too large. Nothing isn't a void. It's a weight, a space where the mind panics because it has nothing to measure, nothing to predict, nothing to latch onto. Humans fear noise, but they crumble in emptiness. Because nothing invites imagination, and imagination always fills the void with something darker than reality. If your breath slowed, if your chest tightened, if your mind briefly drifted into a place with no shape, that wasn't confusion. It was contact with the word that reveals what your consciousness tries desperately to avoid.
Number 10. Nothing is the brain's version of a black hole. He once opened an empty drawer and felt an inexplicable discomfort, as if something missing was somehow heavier than something present. This is how the mind treats absence. The brain is built to detect patterns, predict outcomes, interpret signals. But nothing gives it nothing. No shape, no texture, no memory, no direction. So the brain spirals inward, searching for meaning in a place where meaning doesn't exist. Human trigger. Absence isn't emptiness, it's overload. Emotion shift. Recognition to unease. You didn't fear the dark drawer. You feared what your mind tried to put inside it.
Number 9. Your attention can be hijacked through predictable rhythm. He once spoke with someone whose voice had an unusual rhythm: steady, measured, warm, unhurried. Within minutes, his breathing matched theirs. This is entrainment, the psychological mechanism where your body synchronizes to external rhythm. Your breath to their breath, your blink rate to their blink rate, your tone to their tone. Once synced, the mind drifts into receptive mode. This is why storytellers can quiet a room, why calm speakers feel trustworthy, why predictable pacing feels safe enough to let your guard down. Hypnotic rhythm does not overwhelm the mind, it replaces it. Human trigger. Repetition isn't persuasion, it's rewiring. Emotion shift. Unease to doubt. You didn't trust their voice, you synced to it.
Number 8. Nothing is where the mind projects its darkest possibilities. The brain hates blank space, so it fills it with every fear it has ever stored. He once stared at a quiet phone screen and felt dread rise, even though nothing was wrong. That dread was imagination filling the void. Absence is a canvas for danger, guilt, suspicion, catastrophe. Nothing invites everything. Human trigger. What you fear most lives in the empty spaces your mind tries to resolve. Emotion shift. Doubt to suspicion. Nothing didn't scare you. Your imagination did.
Number 7. Nothing breaks the sense of control you think you have. Humans rely on predictability. He once waited for someone who didn't show up. Minutes stretched, silence grew, thoughts tightened. The loss of control didn't come from what happened, but from what didn't. Nothingness removes feedback loops. And without feedback, the mind can't stabilize. It oscillates, overthinks, catastrophizes.
This is control deprivation, a psychological state triggered not by chaos, but by emptiness. Human trigger. Control doesn't collapse when things go wrong. It collapses when nothing happens at all. Emotion shift. Suspicion to alarm. You didn't lose patience. You lost control.
Nothing makes the body react like something is wrong. He once woke up to total silence. No cars, no voices, no wind, and felt immediate fear. His pulse quickened, breathing shallowed, muscles tensed. Nothing is a biological alarm. Humans evolved to detect danger through sound. When sound disappears, the brain interprets it as a predator's presence. So emptiness activates survival mode faster than noise ever could. Human trigger. The absence of threat feels like the presence of one. Emotion shift. Alarm to disbelief. You didn't sense danger. Your body reacted to silence.
Number 5. Nothing is where identity starts to fracture. Prolonged isolation creates a psychological drift. He once spent days without meaningful interaction and felt pieces of himself fade, slightly. Not dramatically, just subtly. Thoughts slowed, motivations blurred, time lost texture. This is identity erosion through absence. The mind losing itself when there is nothing external to mirror against. Identity is built through contrast. Without contrast, the self becomes undefined. Human trigger. You need the world to remember yourself. Emotion shift. Disbelief to tension. You didn't lose yourself. You lost the reflections that anchored you.
Number 4. Nothing feels heavier than pain because it offers no resolution. Pain has direction, meaning, origin. Nothing has none. He once endured a period of emotional numbness. No sadness, no joy, no urgency. And it was more terrifying than any breakdown. Nothingness is unresolvable. It drags on. It doesn't climax. It doesn't peak. It doesn't release. Pain demands action. Nothing demands endurance. Human trigger. The absence of emotion feels heavier than the presence of pain. Emotion shift. Tension to chill. You weren't numb. You were submerged. Number 3. Nothing warps your sense of time. He once spent hours doing nothing and felt like days vanished. Time requires markers, events, emotions, interaction. When those disappear, the mind loses its internal rhythm. Minutes stretch, hours compress, days blur. Nothing removes the anchors that keep time recognizable. Human trigger. Time doesn't pass slowly, it passes without you. Emotion shift. Chill to collapse. You didn't lose time. Time lost you. Number 2. The brain follows the first suggestion that matches its fear. Fear is the most compliant state. He once heard someone say, "Notice how tension builds in moments like this." And instantly his chest tightened. It wasn't manipulation. It was biology. Fear primes the mind to react quickly, automatically, obediently. When a suggestion matches a fear you already carry, your brain accepts it instantly. Human trigger. Fear doesn't make you irrational. It makes you programmable. Emotion shift. Collapse to awareness. You didn't follow their suggestion. You followed your own fear. Number 1. Nothing is terrifying because humans aren't built for it. The darkest truth about nothing is simple. The human brain cannot function in a vacuum. It requires meaning, movement, connection, noise,
presence. Without them, the mind turns inward, and the inward world is rarely gentle. Nothing creates hallucinations, distorted perception, emotional collapse, and cognitive drift. Not because something is wrong, but because nothing is happening. Human trigger. Emptiness is unnatural. That's why it feels hostile. Emotion shift. Awareness to quiet shock. You weren't afraid of nothing. You were afraid of the mind you meet inside it.
Nothing is a mirror, and it never lies. If your chest felt heavy, if silence suddenly felt louder, if a memory of emptiness surfaced, you weren't imagining it. Nothing is the place where the mind reveals what it hides, but awareness turns the void into a boundary instead of a prison. You don't need to fill every silence. You just need to know what silence does to you. If someone came to mind, someone drifting, someone numb, someone suspended between days, share this with them, not to frighten them, but to show them that the void can be named, understood, survived. Nothing is only terrifying when you face it alone.